Power is competence. I don't think that you have any insight whatsoever into your capacity for good until you have some well-developed insight into your capacity for evil. It took untold generations to get you where you are. A little gratitude might be in order. Whether the gods are inside or outside makes very little difference to whether there are gods. In order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. Always place your becoming above your current being. There are some games you don't get to play unless you are all in. Stop saying those things that make you weak and ashamed. Say only those things that make you strong. Do only those things that you could speak of with honor. If you cannot understand why someone did something, look at the consequences and infer the motivation. Worthlessness is the default condition. If you betray yourself, if you say untrue things, if you act out a lie, you weaken your character. It's appropriate and praiseworthy to associate with people whose lives would be improved if they saw your life improve. So, attend carefully to your posture. Quit drooping and hunching around. Speak your mind. Put your desires forward as if you had a right to them, at least the same right as others. Walk tall and gaze forthrightly ahead. Dare to be dangerous. Encourage the serotonin to flow plentifully through the neural pathways desperate for its calming influence. Make friends with people who want the best for you. You're going to pay a price for every bloody thing you do and everything you don't do. You don't get to choose to not pay a price. You get to choose which poison you're going to take. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. You can do an awful lot by writing down what happened to you and thinking it through. You can only find out what you actually believe rather than what you think you believe by watching how you act. You simply don't know what you believe before that. You are too complex to understand yourself. If you're going to insist on bending the world to your way, you better have your reasons. Intolerance of others' views, no matter how ignorant or incoherent they may be, is not simply wrong in a world where there is no right or wrong. It is worse. It is a sign you are embarrassingly unsophisticated or possibly dangerous. Be grateful in spite of your suffering. And if you think tough men are dangerous, Wait until you see what weak men are capable of. Do the right thing. It will gratify some people and astonish the rest. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great make you feel that you, too, can become great. Classic. A book which people praise and don't read. Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. Courage is resistance to fear. Mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. This is the ideal life. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. The secret of success is making your vocation your vacation. Laughter without a tinge of philosophy is but a sneeze of humor. Genuine humor is replete with wisdom. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform. Or pause and reflect. Everyone is a moon and has a dark side, which he never shows to anybody. If you pick up a starving dog and make him prosperous, he will not bite you. This is the principal difference between a dog and man. Never put off till tomorrow what may be done day after tomorrow just as well. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence. Then success is sure. It is noble to teach oneself, but still nobler to teach others, and less trouble. Give every day the chance to become the most beautiful day of your life. We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain. Life exists only at this very moment. And in this moment, it is infinite and eternal. For the present moment is infinitely small. Before we can measure it, it has gone. And yet, it exists forever. There will always be suffering, but we must not suffer over the suffering. Every individual is a unique manifestation of the whole, as every branch is a particular outreaching of the tree. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. But I'll tell you what hermits realize. If you go off into a far, far forest and get very quiet, you'll come to understand that you're connected with everything. When you get free from certain fixed concepts of the way the world is, you find it is far more subtle and far more miraculous than you thought it was. To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and float. There is always something taboo, something repressed, unadmitted, or just glimpsed quickly out of the corner of one's eye because a direct look is too unsettling. Taboos lie within taboos, like the skin of an onion. No valid plans for the future can be made by those who have no capacity for living now. I have realized that the past and future are real illusions, that they exist in the present, which is what there is and all there is. This is the real secret of life. To be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. If you really understand Zen, you can use any book. You could use the Bible. You could use Alice in Wonderland. You could use the dictionary, because the sound of rain needs no translation. Try to imagine what it will be like to go to sleep and never wake up. Now try to imagine what it is like to wake up having never gone to sleep. Only words and conventions can isolate us from the entirely undefinable something which is everything. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. The only Zen you'll find on mountaintops is the Zen you bring up there with you. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it, like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here. To be free from convention is not to spurn it, but not to be deceived by it. The more we struggle for life, as pleasure, the more we are actually killing what we love. What I am really saying is that you don't need to do anything. Because if you see yourself in the correct way, you are all as much extraordinary phenomenon of nature as trees, clouds, the patterns in running water, the flickering of fire, the arrangement of the stars, and the form of a galaxy. You are all just like that, and there is nothing wrong with you at all. Looking outwards has got to be turned into looking into oneself. Discovering yourself provides you with all you are, were meant to be, and all you are living from and for. Somewhere, right at the bottom of one's own being, one generally does know where one should go and what one should do. But there are times when the clown we call I behaves in such a distracting fashion that the inner voice cannot make its presence felt. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In each of us, there is another whom we do not know. The urge to become what one is invincibly strong, and you can always count on it. But that does not mean that things will necessarily turn out positively. If you are not interested in your own fate, the unconscious is. As any change must begin somewhere, it is the single individual who will experience it and carry it through. The change must indeed begin with an individual. It might be any one of us. Nobody can afford to look around and to wait for somebody else to do what he is loath to do himself. Man is not a machine that can be remodeled for quite other purposes as occasion demands, in the hope that it will go on functioning as regularly as before, but in a quite different way. He carries his whole history with him. In his very structure is written the history of mankind. Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Follow that will and that way which experience confirms to be your own. The rational attitude which permits us to declare objective values as valid at all is not the work of the individual subject, but the product of human history. To find out what is truly individual in ourselves, profound reflection is needed. And suddenly, we realize how uncommonly difficult the discovery of individuality is. The highest, most decisive experience is to be alone with one's own self. You must be alone to find out what supports you. When you find that you cannot support yourself, only this experience can give you an indestructible foundation. If you're going to be successful, you need to be smart, conscientious, and tough. The successful among us delay gratification and bargain with the future. You must determine where you are going in your life, because you cannot get there unless you move in that direction. Random wandering will not move you forward. It will instead disappoint and frustrate you and make you anxious and unhappy and hard to get along with, and then resentful, and then vengeful, and then worse. It's better to do something badly than to not do it at all. Face the demands of life voluntarily. Respond to a challenge instead of bracing for catastrophe. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. You cannot be protected from the things that frighten you and hurt you. But if you identify with the part of your being that is responsible for transformation, then you are always the equal, or more than the equal of the things that frighten you. Don't be a slave to stupid rules. If you fulfill your obligations every day, you don't need to worry about the future. People create their worlds with the tools they have directly at hand. The creative person, by contrast, is always open to new possibilities. You're not everything you could be, and you know it. If someone is making everyone around them miserable, and you'd like to know why, their motive may simply be to make everyone around them miserable, including themselves. Perhaps you are overvaluing what you don't have and undervaluing what you do. The poor and stressed always die first, and in greater numbers. They are also much more susceptible to non-infectious diseases, such as cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. When the aristocracy catches a cold, as it is said, the working class dies of pneumonia. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. To suffer terribly and to know yourself as the cause, that is hell. If you have a comprehension of explanation for everything, then it decreases uncertainty and anxiety and reduces your cognitive load. And if you can use that simplifying algorithm to put yourself on the side of moral virtue, then you're constantly a good person with the minimum of effort. The purpose of life is finding the largest burden that you can bear and bearing it. He whose life has a why can bear almost anyhow. If you don't say what you think, then you could kill your unborn self. When you have something to say, silence is a lie. The secret to your existence is right in front of you, and it manifests itself as all those things you know you should do, but you're avoiding. Can you imagine yourself in 10 years if, instead of avoiding the things you know you should do, you actually did them every single day? That's powerful. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.